I'm Jake Bruton, and today we're standing on the deck with no railing because I want to talk to you about the deck that we're standing on, how it was built, and the choices we've made. Let's do it now. I want to start the conversation about the super durable choices made here at this house by talking to you about a deck that I visited a couple days ago that I built in 2012. So we built a rather large deck for an architect who's also a client in 2012. The deck substructure was treated material. The surfaces that you could touch were cedar. We took a lot of care to space the cedar appropriately. We taped joists. We did everything we possibly could to make it last as long as we possibly could. A couple years after we finished the deck, that deck started needing maintenance. It's been stained 5 or 6 times in that time period. And when I was at that architect's house in the last week or so, the deck had been painted with an exterior paint that has a tooth to it. The deck still looks okay, but it doesn't look like a wood cedar deck. That is the natural progression for wood decks. They only can last so long. That one has actually lasted a very long time. It's up off the ground. It's been very well maintained. That's a best case scenario. We have choices when we start building outside. It's all about durability. It's all about what the investment is going to be and where we want to put value. I want to talk to you a little bit about the choices that we make and the conversations that we have with clients. Number one, we could build a treated substructure with treated material up top, treated handrails, treated deck floor. The treating that we use is a chemical process, that pressure treating process. There's nothing in that chemically that you necessarily want to come in contact with. I generally don't recommend that we use treated material as our substrate to walk on, or a surface to walk on, or our handrails or anything like that. Also, it's aesthetically not pleasing. Even the stuff that you can now find at box stores that is dyed to a specific color to look fancy. From there, we would go to natural woods, cedar being the first choice. Cedar 15 years ago when we built that deck for the architect was a completely different wood basket even than what we can get today. The pores are larger today, it's more farmed wood, and it soaks up moisture, and in our experience over the last few years, it just simply is not lasting at the same rate as what it did, say, 15 years ago, 25 years ago. It used to be when we built cedar decks, it felt, at least, that they lasted substantially longer and we didn't have the same moisture issues and the wicking issues and ingrain issues that we're having today with cedar. And so cedar is a hard sell. It's not necessarily an inexpensive material. It's easy to work with, but it's soaking up a lot of moisture and not giving us a great lifespan. From there, in the hardwood, teak, tigerwood, Brazilian hardwoods, things like that, tropical hardwoods, and synthetic market, tropical hardwoods are hard to come by in the Midwest. They're a lot easier on the coasts. They're relatively maintenance-free. You can oil them. They're a great alternative. However, they are sometimes hard to find from a morality of where they're harvested standpoint. If you can, they're a great choice. They're something that can be reclaimed at some point or recycled in some way. They're a great alternative. So I would recommend that you can look into those. From a synthetic standpoint, I'm not a huge fan. Number one, they have a tendency to be quite warm. We had a project a few years ago where we were doing multiple decks on one building. We built the very first deck on the building. We got done, we walked out on the deck with the homeowner, and the homeowner went, "Oh, we're gonna have to make a change. This material is gonna be way too hot. The dark color, the way it soaked it up." Well, the way that they get their longevity out of those products is the density in the product. So the synthetic decking market, while it does last a very long time, it's come a very long way in color recognition. Temperature, you're looking at forever materials. If you're using a PVC decking, every time you cut that and the shavings go on the ground, it is going to be there forever. That's never going away. That is There's a reason why we try to not use plastic bottles anymore. The same sort of thing. Yes, it has its place. It's going to have a market somewhere. We're trying to steer clients away from it. Last, for us, in this case, is a tile deck. This happens to be a porcelain tile deck. This product comes from a company called Mbrico. They are a sponsor of the Build Show Network, so we should be clear about that. But this is a product that was on the discussion before they were a sponsor and before we knew that they were going to be involved. The clients actually brought Mbrico to the table and said, we're looking for as low a maintenance as possible. This is our forever home. We don't want to deal with this again. It's a small deck. We just don't want to fiddle with this ever again. What do you think about using this product? So let's talk about what we have here. We have a company underneath called Fortress, which is a steel decking product. Ready-made parts, cut to length, special order. You can get a whole bunch of variety of stuff. Rather than putting a wood frame underneath, which is allowable, we decided to put a steel structure underneath. It's frames just like a regular deck. There are a few specialty connector shaped pieces, and you have to understand their procedures. But we have a Fortress steel deck underneath. That's a forever deck as well. Like our framing underneath is never going anywhere. That's gonna last as long as anything that we put on top of it. From that Fortress steel deck, working our way up, we have an extruded aluminum T-shaped rail. That rail has a mounting point, it comes up and it tees. And then we have our porcelain tile with the reinforced backer on it. This porcelain and this system is freeze-thaw stable, it's flame resistant, it's not bothered by water. We have a system that is completely stable for the environment that we're putting it in. Mbrico makes a lot of their line with an outside and inside. So if we wanted to go matching porcelain tile inside and out, this system happens to have been ordered a few months ago, and we didn't get around to installing it until right now. We were kind of waiting so that it wasn't just sitting here with the ability for people to mess with it or drop something on it. Although now that we have it in place, I don't think we're worried about that because we realize how stable it is and how durable it is. The new aluminum tracks extruded by Mbrico are anodized. They're black rather than silver, so it looks like a shadow line instead of being able to see that. The tile are spaced. They have little, let's call it a nubbin on the end, so that when they butt together, there's a drainage plane between the ends of them. And then that drainage plane that it creates is the same size as the T creates on the edges. It makes it so that that grout line that comes around all the tiles is like perfect when you lay everything out and rack it together. I should note that we had tile that we had to cut up against the house over here. So we had our width that we had to cut and on the ends because we have a trapezoidal deck here. They do send a router bit that helps to create the groove into the edge of the tile. So we can groove that at whatever shape we need. So it's customizable. We used a bridge wet saw to cut this, but you can buy porcelain blades for a handheld grinder. That would save us carrying back and forth to the bridge saw that we had set up in the driveway, and we're standing in the back here. It would be a lot less work to just cut these by hand if we had them up here and on our platform for work. The substrate that we're on top of, that Fortress steel deck, even if we were a wood deck, it's super important that all of that is dead flat. It is perfectly level or perfectly in plane so that we don't have a wave in our aluminum extrusion. We want all of that to be super supported. That way we don't have any sort of give or bow or anything, any movement in the substrate that holds up the porcelain tile. Mbrico also makes the same basic track that works with a pedestal system. So if we were over top of a membrane roof here and it was sloped, we could use a pedestal system, so no penetration fasteners with this laying down on top of it. We're Miami-Dade rated. The system's not going to blow away. It doesn't have to penetrate the roof or anything like that. It's a super slick system, and that's also available in their new anodized system as well. And lastly, I should note that at Build Show Live this year, they did release the fact that they can now waterfall your tile for you. So if we wanted to have steps leading down off of this, we would be able to miter and epoxy from the factory. They'll do whatever drop we want on that so that we could have a set of steps, or we could have a rim around the edge here. In this case, our deck is going to finish out. Our metal fabricator is making a cap for the rim that will cap both the Fortress steel rim and to the top face of the Mbrico, and then we will have a face-mounted railing system. We went ahead and shot today before all that's on, just so that we can get a sense of what the Mbrico looks like. We did choose a wood look here that actually matches our interior wood flooring quite nicely. This was a client choice to make it look like it's one surface. It actually looks really great, even though it's not made to look like that specific wood. They actually look really close. This is a great alternative. This house, we have concrete decks, we have concrete porches, we have stone, we have metal for our siding, we have a metal roof. We don't have anything outside on this building that is a short-term material or a high-maintenance material. This fits in with that mentality. This system installs a little slower than a deck material. It installs a little slower than a synthetic material, but if you only have to install this system once in the next 50 years, does it matter if it took a little bit more time? This deck is 25 by 6, by 6 maybe. This is our first time installing it. It took 2 of our carpenters about a day and a half to install it. This would have been a day if it were a wood deck or slightly under maybe. So maybe it took us double the amount of time. I don't think I'm worried about that. The next time that we do that, there would be no learning curve. We would understand all those little nuances about the system. I'm sure we could install this probably in one day at that point. Check these guys out. This is a pretty interesting system. They also have just regular porcelain tile that we could adhere down to concrete outside. They have pavers, stuff like that. Durable, it's gonna last, and it's over top of a steel frame deck. You couldn't ask for a better combination here. So, Mbrico tile decking, check it out. Till next time, have a good day.